Gather round, friends. It's time for Officials' Tales. Hosted by three retired sports referees that coaches throughout Northern Ohio knew as the Three Blind Mice. They are authors of the book called Officials' Tales. So let's meet the authors and your hosts, Jimmy Borgia, Rick Hall, and Don Nardecchia for today's edition of Officials' Tales. Now here's your host, Rick Hall.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us on Officials' Tales. This is our third part of our basketball preview, and we have a special guest, Mark Hazelwood. He's been great to me and Don and Jim, helping us support a book and everything about what we do. He's been a sports writer in this area for quite a long time, author as well as we are, but I think he's probably a lot more qualified than we are to write a book. So saying that, I'm going to bring my one partner in, Nardo. Hey, Nardo, what's up, brother?
Hey, this is Thanksgiving Day here, and we've got Mark Hazelwood to start off with us today, and it should be a very interesting time to sit back and kind of remember some of the things that happen around our area and what's such a great place for high school sports.
Absolutely. We're so blessed. You know, it's funny we talk about that because you and I know, point blank, like you go to some of these bigger schools and you walk into a Friday night game and it's a big game and you're expecting it to be packed. And you wonder if there's enough people in the stands to cash your check, it's not like it is around here. That's for doggone sure.
That's for sure.
So without further ado, by the way, Jimmy will be joining us in a little bit. He had a little issue, but he will be joining us. Oh, also, we are going to be going over the Perkins Galleon ending that, may have a little bit of clarification for everybody out there. So hang on. Let's bring on Mark. Hi, Mark.
How we doing?
Oh, well, we're doing all right for a Friday night. We're talking to you. I'm sort of watching the Browns out of the corner of my eye.
Good idea.
Kind of like both, Yeah, we've done this before multiple times. It always seems this way. We're recording during something that's, pretty cool. So
yeah,
all right, Don,
going on right over there.
Yeah, it's going on.
Yeah.
So anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna let Don go ahead and introduce Mark. We'll talk a little bit, and then we're gonna go over that clip of the Perkins Galleon ending, and get Mark's opinion, and get Don, who is our association guy for rules for decades, right, Don? I can't even remember.
Well, I was kind of the backup for Rick Jeffries for football. It was basketball where I was the head guy, but Rick made me stay up on it. That's for sure.
Ricky needed all the help he could get. Let me tell you.
Easy now. He was one of my mentors.
Oh, I love Ricky. He's my guy.
He is a good guy.
Yeah, he's my guy. All right, Don, kick it off.
Okay. Mark has been a fixture on sidelines and courtside around the North Central Ohio area for a good almost 30 years. And it took him a while to work his way back to the Reflector, but we're very glad that he has an interesting writer, award-winning. He has more awards for a young sports writer, which he still is a young sports writer.
Oh, yeah.
But from the from the Associated Press, the Ohio Sports Media Association, Ohio Society of Professional Journalists have all honored his writing. And although he gives great accounts of the ball games that he covers, his bread and butter, I think, are his great special interest stories that he's done. And we'll touch on all those things today while we have this Thanksgiving Day with Mark Hazelwood. So glad to have you with us. Why don't you, I always start off and just start at the beginning, school and a married life and the family.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, school, you know, actually, I'll take it all the way back. I went to St. Paul K through 8. I went to Norwalk for high school. So whenever those topics come up, I've always got the perspective from both schools, which
There you
has
go.
always been helpful, for a lot of things. In this community especially. So um, I did some college, not all. Like I'd love to sit here and tell you guys that oh, I'm gonna go to college, get a journalism degree, graduate, and do all that. It didn't work out that way for me. College is hard, and the
Yeah.
finances are hard. All those things, right? Like I was a good student. I wasn't like a great, you know, all A's type student. So um, I kind of like had to find my way, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
But I always hung around, the ball fields. I always still went to Norwalk and St. Paul games at that, again, 1999. So St. Paul football, obviously at the time, and Willard basketball, and those little dynasties that were going on then. And I remember it was 2002. It was JJ Huddle. JJ Huddle, was ahead of its time,
Oh yeah.
and they wanted people to like just write game recaps that they would just post on their website. And so I started that in 2002 with Norwalk football. And I would treat it like, a game story that you see in the newspaper. And must have been that winter into spring. I remember we would get the Lorain Morning Journal at our house. They covered, Huron County and Erie County very well back then, even went as far west as Bellevue
Mhm.
and Clyde. And they were taking an advertisement to just somebody to do games, like um,
Sure.
25, $30, whatever, is send us a line if you're interested or whatever. And I just thought, well, I pay to get into these games. So you're telling me you'll pay me to go and talk about it. Like, sure. So
Yeah.
sent my rough around the edges JJ Huddle clips into the Eric Stossel was his name at the Lorain Morning Journal, and he called me back pretty quick and as well. You can't be as one-sided in in the stories as you want. And I knew that. Like I already knew that up front. Like, oh, I know. Like that's just strictly a Norwalk perspective. So started stringing some games and not really getting paid for it, like some practice games, right? And I remember doing Keystone baseball, not softball. They're powerhouse
Mhm.
softball still. But then, so that following fall, my first ever game I got paid was Norwalk at Edison football. And Jordan Horowitz was the coach at Norwalk, and he decided that year that they were going to throw 50 times a game. And boy, they did that night. And Edison scored a lot of points. They had a great running. His name was Chase Beatty. He was a great baseball player. Went to Ashland, I believe, for baseball. Awesome player. Long story short, it was like it was like 28-26 at the half, and it was 9 o'clock at night, and I had like a 10:15 deadline. I'm like, this is a nightmare. I don't know if I can do this, but I did, obviously, and so it just kind of started from there. But I learned pretty quickly that I felt like whether it was from reinforcements from family, friends, coaches, teachers, that I could do it. Like I just felt I got a lot of positive reinforcement from it, not only with myself internally, but just people around me. And
Right.
so I just kind of and the journal of me because I wouldn't turn down an assignment. Like I'd go,
Yeah. Hey.
if you want to do assign me 6 games, I'll do 6 games this week. Like I at that time I was all about that. Like I wasn't getting picky at all. So they loved me from that perspective. And it just kind of grown, and it probably took me probably about a year, um, to finally realize that like this is something I wanted to pursue, but working against me at the time. It wouldn't work against you today. It's a different landscape, as you guys know, with college and online courses and trade all the different things you can do. But working against me big time was not having a college degree in journalism.
Oh yeah.
And I remember the guy from the Journal several times, and I'll tell you where it cut deep was 2004. I did every St. Paul playoff game for them. Okay, week 11, and they were on the well, they were down 28-8 to Mogador. The first round came back and won. It was awesome. You know, they rematched with Monroeville regional championship. Obviously, you guys know that whole backstory. You know, great game.
Oh yeah.
And when it got time to, it's based on when it got time to do the state championship, they put me on the sidelines. You're not doing the game because he had full-time writers who were no longer covering like Ohio State or whoever. He's like, I have to use these guys. They're full-time, even though I know you're better suited to write it. I have to use these guys, and that left a mark on me. So I like sat there in the stands and watched that game. I was just like, I can't believe I'm not writing about this game. And you got like 20 people asking you why you're not doing it. And
Mhm.
so I just kept finding different ways, like you got to get more well versed in the use of our computer and page design, all these different things that he would always tell me what I would need to do. And so I started working on all these things. I'd drive to Lorain 35 minutes and just, type track results, right? Like whatever I could do to just kind of keep pushing. And it was never going to happen there. But then he knew somebody at Ashland who had a sports opening. His name's Dusty Sloan. He's now the SID at Ashland University for youth sports. And Eric wrote me I have it, and he gave it to me. I didn't open it for years. He wrote a glowing recommendation letter for me and said, you know, I'd hire him 2 years ago if I could have. Like he's better than full-time guys I have, quite frankly.
Mhm.
And so I got hired at Ashland and did really cut my teeth there. Ashland covered everything. I mean, we did they would cover Pony League baseball like it's the Guardians Yankees. They would like it'd be like going to Lefty Grove and like I'd be like reporting on an RBI double in the third inning. Like they were hardcore. Like I covered everything, man. Like you name it, and I did it there. The college, of course, just all the sports. It's a good sports area. It wasn't quite what I was used to back home. And obviously, I was living in Norwalk still, and my wife was pregnant with our daughter. And
Mhm.
so, like, that 35-minute drive, man, it just felt like 75 minutes some night. You know, that stretch of 252, you get behind a truck, you're doomed, right? Like, you're stuck.
Oh
So,
yeah.
those were some
We've been there.
really long nights. Savannah, Bailey Lakes, hit a deer one
Sure.
night coming
Sure.
home, all that stuff. So, I was always looking. Um, Finished second for a sports opening at the Sandusky Register in '06. And Dan Angelo, you guys probably know who Dan is. Dan Angelo, again, wanted to hire me, but couldn't because of the same thing. No degree. Needed somebody who could like pick up page design like at the snap of their fingers. I wasn't quite there with it yet. But kind of, again, long story short, he felt really bad because he thought his boss had called to tell me I didn't get the job and didn't. And I was like doing game assignments for him, like on the
Oh.
side while I was interviewing, right? So like he
Mhm.
just like felt gutted that like he had to tell me that. And I still did the entire state track championships for the Register over 2 days. And they had 50 kids, several state championships. In Dan's mind, he thought I was going to leave him high and dry, like because I didn't get the job. He was like terrified. He was like mortified. And I went. I just did what I would always do. Like I wasn't going to turn down the paycheck and to be at state track and all that. That never crossed my mind. So then a year and a half later, when another job opened, he never forgot that. And he's like, "I'm not interviewing you. Like, when can you start?" So like, I went from like working at Ashland to like 2 weeks later, it was a whirlwind. So then I was at Sandusky, and funny how life works. I was in Sandusky for a long time. I had no intention of really leaving there, to be honest. And there were some openings in Norwalk, and it was kind of the same deal, except instead of that 35-minute drive from Ashland, even just getting rid of the 20 to 25-minute drive to Sandusky, win-win. You're still covering a lot of the same schools.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity came to just transition to Norwalk, I took it. But the catch was I had to stay on at the Register. I did both. I was Register sports editor and Reflector sports editor until they could replace somebody. Well,
Right.
you know how this goes, guys. Sometimes it's a detriment to be really efficient at your job.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they didn't see any hurry to hire somebody at Sandusky
Oh,
because
no.
look how good he's doing with both these. So you're paying one person. I got a lot of overtime. You're paying one person to do both. They're like,
Sure.
sure you can't do both? Like, and I'm like,
I
no, I
yeah.
don't want to do both. Like, so eventually they did hire somebody, and I was finally just straight Norwalk at the start of the 2018 school year. But that whole year, almost the entire full year before, I did both Sandusky and
Wow.
Norwalk, and I'd go to Sandusky like twice a week, kind of help them. I'd assign stuff for them, and then while handling Norwalk. So, and St. Paul made the state semifinals in football that fall in 2017. It's like there was no like early, okay, I got a little 2-week breather here before winter sports. That was a
Well,
wild year.
we kind of know that because Don and I were both football and basketball. So we know how one season butts into the other.
Yes,
It's
sir.
happened to
Yeah.
us
So
many times.
that's
Many,
just
many
kind of
times.
the quick recap of my career path. But no, I mean, I'm not really like, look, I was, call it the side hustle, whatever you want to call it. I was somebody who, again, 2005, 2006, when I know I can't just, you know, draw magic out of a hat, go to a 4-year school and try and do this while,
It's tough. Yeah,
balancing life.
sure.
You know, I was doing whatever I could. I was working, odd construction jobs with my stepdad, or, you know, um, just very, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken. I was working in fast food. I was working
Hey,
in fast food during the
you do
day,
what you got to
and
do.
I was doing game stories at night. And anytime I do talk to a high school class, which is not often, but whenever I do, it's like, look, you're gonna have a lot of people tell you a lot of things, but I'm living, you know, I do not mean this to be cocky, but I don't have room for all the like that. I just have so many of these plaques and awards. I can't even display them. I don't know where to. I don't know where to put them. And somebody without I didn't have the journalism background, but I just found something I was good at, and I'll never forget. It was a galleon wrestle. I was a wrestling in 2004, and one of my dear, I, still kills me. He's gone. Ron DeLuca. Ron DeLuca told me after a
Oh, yeah.
wrestling match. He said he would always call me Purple Haze, Jimi Hendrix song. That was always his nickname for me. And he says, Purple Haze, you found your niche. I don't even know if you realize it yet. This is what you were supposed to do. And
Well,
he just sent me all this glowing stuff. And that meant a lot coming from somebody who had me as a football coach, had me in his classroom. Like, um, that's when I talked about that positive reinforcement. That was the one. Like, that was the one that really, truly put me on that. Okay, I'm doing this because I had
well,
impressed my coach and teacher.
I'll tell you, I know most guys and most companies, they like the college degree, but
Right,
the college degree that not only proves that you showed up for 4 years and did the bare minimum to get a piece of paper, so you have some kind of stability.
right,
Experience, however, Don and I can tell you this: you can get all the experience, you can get all the degrees and pass all the tests you want. That doesn't make you a great employee, and it sure don't make you a great referee. It takes experience and it takes
right.
time. You climb the
Yep.
ladder, you grinded, you earned it. You know, and that's a story in itself. You know, just to be able to say, I earned this. Nobody gave it to me. See, everybody sees the awards on the wall and they go, boy, that'd be nice to have, you know, like the participation trophy. You know, but to get the real trophies, the ones that matter, well, that's a whole nother story. So, hey, Jimmy actually joined us. There he is, Big Head Noel.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
There he is in his mobile studio.
You ever see a head like that? Yeah,
Mobile
live?
studio.
Oh,
Look at that guy.
I feel like quoting Mike Myers in that When I Married an Axe Murderer or whatever. He had a little boy he called Heed.
Yeah.
You ever see
How
a
you doing,
head
Mark?
that size in your life?
Doing well.
Crap.
I'm sorry I didn't get here with you. You had to settle for these two clowns.
Well, you know,
Hey,
I'll
good
take
thing
what I
you-
can get on a Sunday in November.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and get us into this clip real quick, and then we're gonna head to commercial. So let's do this. Let's do this clip real quick, and let's see here. We're gonna go right into the clip, and
whoa.
screen, and we're gonna
At
roll.
home tonight were the Galleon Tigers, and they were at a place in the tournament where they have not been since 93 yards.
I gotta
at
find
the
it
break.
right where we were.
Shaley
There we go.
would block a Pirates field goal to get open on the track. He cut
Somebody got tackled him, right?
Defenders,
Yeah.
totals another 43 yards in his way. I got
I'm
it
trying to get to the
second,
very
eventually
clip. I thought
to
I had
make it
just the clip, but it must have
17-7, but just
downloaded the whole
24
thing, so.
seconds later, Lagondo
Oh,
makes
here we
an
go.
awesome catch, trims it to
There it
17.
is.
Final play of the game for the win, and it's picked off.
But was it?
Kane Hay with
Nope.
the interception, and we're rolling it for a reason. Look, he's starting to get tackled. You would think that that's progress at some point there. Nobody blows a whistle at any time. It's pandemonium. There's players on the field for both sides. Most of them aren't even wearing helmets. They thought they had a celebration, so they run it back all over again. That's what the referees decided. Whew, the Tigers avoid absolute disaster. Hey, they're involved again. He knocks this one down, so they have to survive.
So,
great.
guys, what do you think of that? Mark, you wrote about, well, you didn't write about it, but it's in your paper. What are the headlines?
Yeah.
So what's your insights in this?
So basically, whoever the back judge was, claimed there was an inadvertent whistle. And
Got it.
I've seen about 3 or 4 different clips and angles. Like I said, in one of them, you can kind of hear like a faint whistle, but it almost sounds like I said, somebody blowing from the crowd, like doing the whistle, you know, from the crowd. But there is, you can hear like a faint whistle. It's not long. He's not like blowing it like, you know, a bunch of times if it was the judge. And so they claimed it was an inadvertent whistle, which, as you guys know, then would mean, you know,
It happens.
plays, you know, interception, inadvertent whistle, like I don't know. So the Perkins kids, obviously, like you can see kids from both sides are still like
They're
playing. So there's obviously over half the players on the field did not hear this. Kid running around with the ball didn't look like he heard it, quite frankly. So then he just like haphazardly hands the ball to a Perkins kid who ran it in. And so Perkins thinks they have a touchdown, and you know, obviously, you know, Galleon thinks the game is over. So if the sequence was interception, inadvertent whistle, fumble, pitch to the other team, then it can be argued the inadvertent whistle is what caused the pitch in the first place.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
You know, like we're not really getting that. Like the kid maybe thought the play was dead, but he didn't act that way.
No, he did not.
Like you just saw it. So like in this case, I guess the whistle actually helped Perkins by giving him a second shot. But yeah, mass confusion. They obviously met and they huddled and they talked about it, you know, for a long time, and they decided on an untimed down after that. So wild. And you know, it's not like this is week 7, 8, 9, or even 10. I mean, this was 3rd round to go to a regional championship.
It's for the money, yeah.
final play.
Win or
Like,
go
this is to
home.
go to a trophy round game.
Yep. So Jim, you're new. So what do you think? And I got a couple insights, and we'll go to the rules guy.
How long did it take them when they got together before they decided they're going to run another play, Mark?
It was at least a minute and a half. Like they conferred for a good minute plus. It was not like okay, here's what we're gonna do. Right. Okay, let's do this. Let's go tell each coach. No, they discussed it for a good minute plus.
So did you see the reaction of the head coaches from both teams then?
I did not. No.
He wasn't there.
Oh, I thought he was there. I'm
game.
sorry.
Yeah, it was another
I was
reporter.
listening to it though.
Okay.
I was actually listening to the end of that game on my way back from McDonald, Ohio.
Oh yeah.
So I'll give you a couple of things just from watching the video myself, and one of our friends actually ref the game, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but I will tell you this: we're taught as officials for football, not basketball, to not keep the whistle in your mouth. That helps you stave off the option of getting an inadvertent whistle because, you react sometimes without really thinking. Basketball, you have no choice. I mean, it's that quick. So, unless you're on a line, if you're a line judge and you're line to gain or a goal line situation, then you put the whistle in your mouth and then you're rolling. Okay, that's first. Second, Perkins should have lost the game anyway. The ball was intercepted. The kid did come down with it, and the game should have been over at that point. Third, a good teammate of the said kid from Galleon would have knocked him on his ass, and that would have been the end of the play, and an inadvertent whistle wouldn't have mattered. So now, all that being said, with people coming on the field, like we have a famous story in our book about an inadvertent whistle by one of our crew members that Don and I had, we cleared up, I had to go tell the guy, it didn't work out the way he thought. But so anyway, let's go to our rules interpreter, Mr. Nardecchia.
Well, one thing we didn't really get much of a look at, there was like 6 or 7 seconds left, I think, when that last play, that long pass that was intercepted. 4 seconds?
4 seconds.
Okay, so that pass was thrown in the air quite high, had a lot of trajectory coming down. A kid caught it. But more than likely, when he secured the ball, there was no time left on the scoreboard. And fans and other people on the sideline think, hey, we got it won. We intercepted, we got it won. But the play was not over yet. Play continues with zeros on the scoreboard until the play is complete, and that would either be somebody going out of bounds, somebody taking a knee, somebody getting tackled. And so where this inadvertent whistle came from, if it was from the stands, it should have been ignored.
Right.
If one of the officials blew the whistle, maybe had a momentary lack of reason and thinking like a kickoff, if you catch it in the end zone, you can't take it out on a kickoff. With a pass interception, you can take it out of the end zone.
Absolutely.
So there may have been an official, and what they decided probably it didn't cover. This wasn't a one cover both of them, but how they decided what they did. Generally, on an inadvertent whistle, if it ends, beyond the line of scrimmage, the team that had the ball can either ask for the play to be repeated or take the result of the play where the inadvertent whistle happened. So if they had gained 8 yards on a regular play, they may want that. They may be satisfied with that rather than try to take another shot and not get that. But the rule book didn't really, I don't think we ever talked about a play where there was a change of possession with an inadvertent whistle. And again, and the end of the game comes into that as well too. So what they were faced with here, and what the facts are, that they could, were an absolute. If it wasn't official, did he own up to it? Was it an inadvertent whistle? And was it after the time expired, but the play had not finished yet? And the question I have that I'm not sure of on the rule is, if there's a change of possession, which there was, why would you go to the team that had the ball to begin the play and give them options as if they were harmed by the inadvertent whistle? Right. Where in this case, the Galleon team intercepted the pass, change of possession, and time expires, but there's still active play going on the field. And so if there had been an inadvertent whistle and play ended, then they would have the choice, I would think, because they were the team affected most by this inadvertent whistle. Ish. And their options would be take the play as it stands or take the play over. And that includes going all the way back to Perkins having the ball. And so in that case, I would think, because it would be up to Galleon what to do in the face of an inadvertent whistle when they had possession of the ball. Right. They could just say, well, we'll take the result of the play. The play can end where the whistle was. Okay, game's over. But what happened in there that they replayed it, I'm not sure. Unless somebody gets some kind of a statement from the OHSAA, I'm not really sure if
I think I know.
Okay, what do you got, Rick?
I think I know why. I think because if you watch the video, the kid that intercepted the ball actually handed the ball to a Perkins kid, who then ran it back.
Mm-hmm. No, he ran it through the line, but I don't know how far he got. It looked to me like he started and then he stopped.
No, but you have a change of possession and you have a change of possession. I mean, like I said, the smart money is
took it back.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he gave him the ball back.
He ran it in. He was heads up.
Okay, the Perkins kid that was handed the ball, then
ran it.
It looked like he started to run, then jogged it the rest of the way because there's nobody there. Everybody's celebrating.
You see what I'm saying? Now
now that makes sense then, because if they were the team that ended up with the ball,
but again, honest to God, now I'm going to tell you the truth. Honest to God, the best thing that could have happened is what did happen.
What did happen on that replay? Absolutely.
Because you really had kids from both teams on the field illegally.
Yeah.
With their helmets off illegally. Yep. You had all kinds of crazy stuff. Because if you give the ball to Galleon, knowing that he handed the ball to Perkins and he ran it back, now you've got yourself another problem. Best thing to do, wipe it. I think our friend who was in charge of this melee, I think he did the absolute right thing. Just from a sportsmanship perspective, my opinion, kind of the same thing we did with the story in our book. Because by the book, we'd have really screwed a team probably out of a chance to win based on an inadvertent whistle. And we chose to go with the sportsmanship part of it, as opposed to, and then when you have to go explain it to a 6'7", 300-pound coach that knows the rule, and he's all red in the face talking to you by your first name, that's never as fun as you think it is. Let me tell you that, because I was that guy.
Well, guys, let's set this to rest, and we'll see what comes out in the days to come about it.
Yep.
Rick, the fact that they did rerun it could be because of the Galleon kid handing, it's still a live play, handed off the ball to the Perkins kid, who then crossed the goal line with it. So we'll see what comes up. But like you say, that when they ran the replay of the play and they knocked it down, that kind of was the result that seems like the best possible outcome of this thing. So let's get a break in here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk more of past stuff with Mark Hazelwood, some of the memorable places, teams, and people he's met along the way.
All right, here we go. Yeah, as Don was saying, we're still selling our book on Amazon. If you follow that QR code in the my upper left-hand corner, the upper right-hand corner, depending on how you're looking at it, it's still available out there. We're running a Christmas special, and you can get it in paperback, ebook, and hardback. And we're also selling the book at the Common Good, and we have a new ad for their upcoming Light Up Norwalk Small Business. Here we go.
Hi, guys. Just wanted to say thanks to the Officials Podcast crew for supporting Common Good Collective, and wanted to say that if you're looking for a unique gift this holiday season, check us out. We do have the Officials Tales book and their mug, and among many other unique items. So thank you.
And like the ad said, you can get our book, $13, 2 for $25, and you get a free mug, or you can buy the mug. Help us grow this podcast and get it out to every sports lover around the world. We actually have one in Australia. So we're back. We're done selling our books. So Don, you go right ahead and lead Mark into our next segment.
Well, Mark, you've told us about some of the oddities that you had to cover, especially down in Ashland County. This whole section of north central Ohio, you've worked it, and you've worked a lot of different sports and a lot of different teams, etc. What are some of your memories that stick in your mind? Maybe not the most exciting stuff, but things that you enjoyed doing, and maybe you were surprised enjoying it.
Yeah, I would say, like I said, go into I find out that the Danbury football quarterback has like these insane numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you just want to go out and do a story, and it's like it's Danbury. It's this little go across the bridge, what's happening here, and you go there and you see 15 kids. Again, 8-man football is not really a thing yet in Ohio, and you see the kids going through practice, and they were tackling trash cans. They couldn't do 11 on 11.
Right. They needed.
So you got this like unbelievable player. He went on to play, like he played at Baldwin Wallace. Like he was a good player. But then I'm like blown away by this. I'm watching kids tackling trash cans in practice. And quickly the story became more about the trash can than it did, just the player. And that ended up being a really, really deep dive into just the demographics of Marblehead and, Lakeside and just what it takes to, field a football team there. And that was a very memorable, unexpected stuff. Like I said, Sandusky's got some, you can't even do a Mount Rushmore of Sandusky athletics. It's impossible. I don't, like, who would you leave off? Tom Darden, getting to befriend a lot of those guys. Like I said, Orlando Pace was definitely, somebody I became, very, very in touch with. And like I said, his path took you to being able to interview a lot of, famous people, obviously both NFL and college. And I guess another one would be, his name's Eldashian Nix. I don't know if that name registered.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was just unbelievable football and basketball player, 6'5", 200. And Sandusky at that time in basketball was unbelievable. And he went to Northwestern for football. And what really stood out though, was his backstory, which just it was unbelievable. In the sense of, you know, he lived at the corner of Hancock and Reese, and you could be from Norwalk, Ohio, or Milan or Bellevue, and you hear stories about Hancock and Reese and Sandusky. Not a good neighborhood.
No.
Mom worked nights. Dad wasn't in the picture. He would take a pink lunchbox to school, have pasta all the time at home because he was home a lot of the time by himself, and it wasn't a great situation. So I'm trying to. He came back to town for something, and we connected. And for some reason or another, I'm actually not even sure if there was a reason other than I think he just wanted to simply tell his story. I was so glad he did. And we ended up at the corner of Hancock and Reese. And we went to his old house. And we were just standing out front having a conversation. All these people stopped by who knew who he was still. Like, you know, I was there hours, supposed to be there for like 45 minutes. I was there for hours. And the person actually ended up being home where he used to live. So we actually he got to walk through his childhood home. And he got real emotional, right? And his just all this stuff was coming back to him. Not always good memories either. And that just ended up being an incredible day. It was a 2-part series on here's the kid who, you know, for lack of a better term, came from nothing, goes to Northwestern, blows out his knee right away, never actually plays for Northwestern, but gets a degree from Northwestern, which has now taken him places after the fact. But what really stood out was where I'm getting at with this is he had bitter feelings towards his twin. Like, he was never there.
Right.
Didn't hide the fact that he, you know, basically didn't claim him or whatever. And after that 2-part series came out, his mom told him, hey, why don't you give him another shot? Just extend the, you know, just say hi, you know. So he ended up reconnecting with his dad, who was living in, I want to say, Alabama or Georgia, somewhere down that southern area there. And they connected a little bit, not like, you know, oh, I'll see you next weekend, that type of thing. But they did get in contact with each other. And I'll never forget this as long as I live. Um, a few years later, after he had reconnected with his dad, he passed away. And he sent me this really heartfelt message saying, you know, because of you and that story, I got closure. Like, I was able to reconnect with my dad.
It's awesome.
It was an award-winning story. It was really, like I said, I'm not trying to be cocky, but it was well written. The story wrote itself, really. But I mean, you know, it really resonated with a lot of people. But then to hear that part of it was like, wow. So that's one that stood out really. And I know it's Monroeville, but I was actually working at Sandusky at the time, and you guys know the 4 wrestlers from Monroeville.
Yep.
One of them in particular, his path went sideways, and that became Tassar. And I called him on a whim one day, just because he had ended up at like this small JUCO college in like Kansas or something. Never heard of it, and I'm thinking, how does he? So I picked up the phone, I just called him, and here, I mean, I couldn't believe the things he was telling me. Like, I mean, he had ripped the Band-Aid off. I mean, he was telling me some things that I would never print, quite frankly. And he had gone sideways, but he, again, got on track, ends up being a JUCO national champion. Not the path he thought when he left Monroeville, goes to Ohio State, to Hofstra, to these places. And then not long after that piece ran, I got a little thank you card in the mail, and it was from his mom, Carla. What stood out about that was she put in the note that she thanked me for writing it, not because it was a good story, but because she didn't even know some of those things. He never discussed it. And she said, thank you for getting him to discuss it, because obviously he needed to get that, you know, out there in the world. and it shows up people that, again, things go sideways, get back on track. So here he had told me things that he didn't even tell his own mother at the time. So those are kind of big. Like I said, the Newt Rockney, forward pass stuff was Dusty. Spent 5 years on it, literally. Being able to work with Orlando Pace, Aldashia Nix, the Starry story. Those kind of those stay with me longer than maybe any of the big championship type stuff that I covered.
Well, that's big. That's really big. I think, when you can make a difference, with what you do, and obviously you have a passion for what you do. I think if you can make a difference in other people's lives, that's one of the biggest rewards you'll ever get. I mean, all the plaques and all the trophies are great, but if you can touch somebody in a special way like that, it's awesome.
And I will say really quick, I was still with the Register when Logan Stieber won his 4 wrestling championships, and I followed him. I went to Des Moines, Iowa. I went to St. Louis. St. Louis twice. I didn't where I didn't go. I did not follow him to Oklahoma City because there was a certain basketball team from Norwalk playing that same weekend. We'll get to that here in a few minutes. But so that was definitely something that was very fun. And when he went to Iowa, that was his second one. And he faced a kid from Iowa. I don't have to tell anybody, Iowa wrestling, like they treat that like you guys treat Iowa State football in this.
That's
game.
it. That's it.
Massive. And listen, he was going to face an Iowa kid for the national championship. And I show up at press row, right? And I got my stuff. And they're like, "Oh, Sandusky Register, where are you from?" Blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Well, I'm from Ohio. So, Cedar Point, or Cedar Point." It's what you always say to people, right? "Oh,
yeah. Yes, we do too."
Yep. Yeah, you either say the drag strip or Cedar Point, right?
Yep.
So finally, I settle in. I figure out, and I made the mistake. This was a mistake. I say, "Well, I'm here. I'm actually Logan Stieber's from my hometown. We grew up 5 minutes from each other." Listen, these Iowa people turned on me. They went so cold. Quit talking to me. I was the enemy because I'm there with the enemy.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm telling you, they did not talk. It was a 3-day tournament. They did not talk to me the rest of that weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And there were people wearing Iowa hats and shirts on press row. Like, they weren't hiding it in Hawkeye country, okay? So, like, when Logan won, and he won in I was like his closest one of the 4. I was like, oh, thank God. I didn't want to have to endure that. But so those are kind of like my most memorable, I guess, Sandusky type experiences.
Well, we're gonna take one more break, and we come back. Here's the main topic. This is
we'll close with that.
Probably all need to listen to, but we'll have a little break here, and we'll be back with the final part of our Thanksgiving talks with Mark Hazelwood.
Geez, Allison, you've got all kinds of stuff here in bulk, and this is how your store got started, right?
Yep. So we started as a refill shop. So when you help your wife by cleaning the toilets, we have a cleaner for you. So we try and stock all the things that you use in a household, personal care products that you use every day. You can refill them so you don't have all the single-use plastic that comes with it. We stock glass or metal for things, for containers that we provide. But we have everything from hand soap and dish soap, just shampoo and conditioner and
This
cleaners.
is household cleaners. You also have personal, like hand soap.
Hand soap, toothpaste, all kinds of things. So.
And down there, even?
Dishwasher detergent, laundry detergent, hair care products, all kinds of things. So, and you can bring your containers from home and we'll refill them as well.
That's amazing. That's just amazing. And this is how the store really started. This is what.
This was our business, and then the Common Good came about when we joined with other local businesses. Because having a storefront's not an easy thing to do, but together we can.
Start small. There you go. Absolutely.
And don't forget to go to the Common Good, especially for their Light Up Norwalk special. And that's coming up November 29th, I believe. So, all right, let's get the guys back and close this one out. There's Nardo. There's the Heed, and Mark's back. So yeah, we ended talking about the Norwalk State Championship and Mark's book. So Don, you have that, right? You have that book there with you. So why don't you give us a quick recap of not only the championship run and the things that you remember, but the book.
I've always wanted to write a book. Trying to get my second one off the ground, by the way, teaser. But my whole intention that entire time was I was obsessed with the streak. I was obsessed with the winning streak. I wasn't thinking anything like that. And I don't know that a lot of people were, quite frankly, but my whole idea was, I try to remember they played somebody pretty good early in that fourth year. And I'm thinking if they win that game, I don't think they'll lose. So in theory, the streak's going to hit 65 by the end of that year. And you're on the doorstep of Willard's. Bob Haas 69 in a row. And my thought was, they're going to go undefeated. I'm going to write a book on the streak. I also thought, though, when that was happening, I'm telling myself, I think they need to get back to a regional for the book to sell, to actually sell the idea of this 4-year run deserving of a book. Because, they had famously lost in the district semis to Mansfield Senior the year before. Everybody thought that was the best of the 4 years was that team. They didn't win a district game. They're in Division I. Things happen. So my thought was they have to at least get back to regional, and they'll have their 60-some wins in a row, and I'll have a nice story to tell. They get voted AP number 1 at 3 o'clock on a Monday in January. And 6 hours later, they lost at Ontario. Are you kidding me? They lost the streak. They lost the number 1 ranking. And I'm thinking, okay, well, let's see what happens. Kind of telling myself, I think I'll still write it anyway if they go to, if they make a regional. And they did. And pretty straightforward. I mean, Clyde Perkins kind of tested them a little in the district, but it wasn't ever down to the wire question. When they won them 2 regional games, I mean, I'm still stressed out just thinking about the end of that. I mean, they were cruising against Pavilion, and the next thing you know, they're just literally holding on to the cliff with 3 fingers. Don't fall.
Yep, sure.
And then Jeff Thomas offensive foul against Lima Bath. They're winning the whole game. They can't make a free throw. I'm like, what is happening? But once they made it to state, I'm like, okay, book sold, right? This is going to be awesome. I can make a state. They made it to state. Streak ended, but they made it to state. That was just right off. Again, not entertaining a single thought. That still has not even. It's Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. It's defending champion Columbus Watterson. State and Thurgood Marshall and 3 D1 kids. We're happy. We're thrilled to be there. And obviously we know what happens. And what stands out to me, if I take one thing away from that 48-hour weekend, it wasn't necessarily that they won. It was how they won. They were in control. They were in control. They trailed. They tied or led in 59 of the 64 minutes of those 2 games. What's happening? So, I was immediately the minute it ended. I was writing that Sunday afternoon. I wrote a story, a fan reaction piece. And that was kind of the precipice for the involvement aspect of the book. Was that had done that man on the street story of getting reaction.
Sure.
And that kind of really set me on that path, and then kind of took that step back and said, gosh, Janesville closed, Epic Technologies closed, Kmart closed, school levy they haven't passed one in 20 plus years, and they're going to make $900,000 worth of cuts if it doesn't pass. Worst winter of my life. I know you guys probably have more experience with that, but that was one of the worst winters of all time in my lifetime. So you added it all up, and it was this was 2 Grays battles. We chance had come back during that.
Sure did.
There were some closer, darker calls than people probably care to, ever admit or know. And all that had been going on during that time. So it's just like, wow, it's going to be a basketball book, but boy, there's a lot of different branches here that infect thousands and thousands. So that's kind of how it all came together. And I wrote it fast. Honestly, if I have a regret, I think I might have wrote it too fast. I probably could have wrote a longer book, but it was just like you're on fire, right? It's like you caught fire.
Yeah.
And I guess another big memory that jumps out was throughout that process was learning that I couldn't believe. It's like Bob Haas was like mythical to me. Okay.
Oh, for everybody.
I was 13. Like, this guy's a wizard. Like, put the wizard hat on him. Like, that's how I viewed him as a kid. And so Bob Haas directly led to Ben Haraway and Jeff Thomas with, Jeff Thomas Sr.'s cousin Robinson played for Bob Haas and Willard. They followed everything Bob Haas ever did. That's how those kids got that. That was awesome. Like that will always kind of stand out to me because what Bob was locally to the Norwalk Willard rivalry and communities with his radio, and that was really cool to learn that.
Yeah, that's great. We really appreciate. I know we're getting a little long here. As Rashida Scroll, you was mentioning Bob Haas. Nick Dials is actually going to be one of our guests.
Nice, yes.
Coming up in the next couple of weeks. And speaking of that, we've got to go on to our next set of guests coming up. So we do appreciate everything. Don, you got anything final?
Yeah, Mark, that this book is really something that anybody who enjoys sports that grew up in Norwalk before the time of these kids, since then, longtime Norwalk people, you will so much enjoy reading this book and how everything related to what was going on in Norwalk at the time. It's kind of a chronicle also of the economic status of Norwalk through the first 2 decades of the 21st century.
Yeah.
And a lot of sports in there and stuff. And, it'd be a great Christmas gift. I mean, I like our book. I love this book.
Oh, yeah.
And Mark, so if people are looking to get a copy or two of this as Christmas gift for the sports lovers, where are they? I think we talked to you and you kind of suggested the same route we took for the book sales. So tell them how you get them.
Yeah, well, first of all, I do have some hard copies. So if anybody does know me and see this, contacts me. I do have some hard copies if you don't want to wait. But yeah, Amazon.com. Just punch it up. And, it's self-published. They print them as they sell them. So
yeah, it doesn't take long to get them.
It warms my heart every year. I don't want to jinx it. But without fail, every year, that second, third weekend in March, somebody buys it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I don't know. I just love that. Like it's like they see it on their face. Like they get reminded of on this day, right? And every year in March, that book sells. I just love that. It's not even about the finance part. I just love that.
Right. The easiest way to find it on Amazon is on the search bar.
Yep.
Put author Mark Hazelwood, and it'll probably take you right to his book. So go there if you want, get a hold of Mark through the Reflector, and buy a copy. I'll bet he'll put a few nice words in there for whoever you are getting it for. But it's really a wonderful book for people that live in the general Norwalk community. Wonderful book.
Hey, really quick, I know you mentioned Nick Dials, which makes me think of Jimmy Langhurst and memorable stuff. I just realized in this, like right over my shoulder, printed right there, that is the box score John Diebler, Jimmy Langhurst, 55 points, 55 points,
apiece.
101 to 98 district championship in 2006. I mean, both kids signed it the night of. The Ashland guy printed it off. I said, they looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, listen, we'll talk about this night forever.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
It's actually right there. I just realized that. That's the box signed by John Diebler, Jimmy Langhurst. They both had 55 points, 101 to 98 in regulation.
There you go.
Really neat. Really neat.
Well, thanks again, Mark, for joining us. We do appreciate you, and we hope to have you on again, maybe after the first of the year.
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Guys. All right,
Sure
man. We'll
thing.
talk to you later.
See ya.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right, guys, we're closing out. We got a couple more guests coming on, so thanks again. Happy Thanksgiving.
And we'll see the next show coming up. Next week will be the Sheldon brothers, Chris from Western Reserve and David from Colonel Crawford. We have them on together. It should be a really fun show.
Good luck.
That's all, folks.